Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings, and welcome here to Inverness, which is on the edge of Aviemore and the Rothiemurchus estate. We're going to be doing some air ambulance work in this fantastic high performance group Airbus H145 HEMS variant, which is using the Action Pack expansion. Also, credit to Demo Designs for this Scottish Air Ambulance livery that we're going to be using today because we're here. And what a beautiful part of the world it is. And if you know, or if you followed the channel at all, you'll know that my heart definitely resides in this area. Anyway, what we're going to be doing today is using the scenario editor to fly a mission to pick up a casualty up at Craigellachie and take them over to Raigmore Hospital in Inverness. Just a small point, I make mention in the video about how the track IR is affecting the view when the your eyes sink down into the body of the pilot. Contacted High Performance Group this morning on their Discord, and they've actually already fixed it. So by the time I'd finished this video, they'd already fixed it. That's how damn good they are. So anyway, we will get flying, but what I first of all want to do is actually show you the scenario editor and just give you a quick overview of how all that goes together so that we can make a mission. Right, so this is what this scenario editor looks like. We've got my scenarios at the top, which is where we've got scenarios we've already created, and then as you can see underneath that we've got several options with regards to different types of scenarios. So we can have a rescue, custom, a street accident, we can have firefighting missions, and all of these are kind of coming with the basic parameters for this type of mission, and then you can add bits and pieces. And then at the bottom you've got the ninja style scenario developer, which is editing raw mission files, which I haven't had a look at yet because I'm not that clever. But if we open our current file, you can see here we've got a starting location, which is down at Aviemore, and that's very simple. It's very simple how you create objects in this. You literally just click on something, like here we're going to add a flare, and we click on flare, we add it there, and then we can select and we can move it around. It really is as simple as that, and it will plonk it on top of the topography, so we don't have to worry about it being underground or hanging up in the air. It's very simple. So we've got our start location there, which is the first part. And if you look over to the right, you can see where you can change things like object heading. For vehicles, you can select lights flashing and that sort of thing. So it's all very intuitive, even for an absolute idiot like me. So we go over to look at our casualty site now. You can see that I've added some bits and bobs, added some vehicles. We've got a casualty there. Again, that's very simple. I've just set them so that the lights are flashing. I haven't had to do much else with it. So that's our location for the site there. You can see an idea of the sort of ground around it, and then over here we've got our landing site at Raigmore Hospital. This is actually a landing pad that's baked into the scenery, but we can add this as our point where we're going to drop the casualty off. And then if we wanted to, for example, over there at Inverness Airport, where this helicopter is actually based, we could put our end location, so it means that we could finish it, fly over there and land after we dropped off at the hospital, and that would be the end of the mission. But really I'm trying to keep it short, so we're just going to go finish the mission once the casualty is dropped off at the hospital. Right, here we go. So while me and the boys were having a cup of tea and a slice of cake is of course very essential survival food for all EMS crew, isn't it, mate? Yeah, he agrees. So while we were doing that, the weather has turned a little bit for the worse, which is fine. When I flew yesterday, just doing another practice mission, it was live weather and it was dreich, as they say up here. Very wet, low cloud, but incredibly atmospheric. So I'm kind of hoping we'll see more of the same, because a lot of the videos that I do where we're sightseeing, the weather is really nice, because we want to really appreciate the landscape and the detail and everything. This is a different kind of flight. This is more about a mission, as it were. So a bit of dreich weather would be most welcome. I don't want to alarm you, but this is an emergency situation. We are responding to a casualty. So I'm not going to be doing the full startup. We're going to assume that we've flown here and we've done some checks, haven't we? Yep. And that means that we don't need to do a full load of startup checks. So I'm going to start her up as quickly as I can because, as I say, this is an emergency situation. So let's get the battery master on, get the prime pump on, and we'll get the position lights on. Quick look down here. Yeah, everything's looking to debut. Okay. Let's go for idle on engine 1. By the way, in no way, shape or form am I trying to set this up as some kind of a tutorial on how to fly this helicopter. It's incredibly detailed, and I am well aware that there's a lot yet for me to learn, but I just have a huge amount of fun in it. I do love this in a ridiculously obsessive kind of way, but I just need to do some studying in terms of how to fly it properly and how everything works. Okay, looks good there. Let's go for engine 2. A quick check of some other things. Our volt's good, that's fine. I'm going for crew. We haven't got a payload, but I'm going to just, with me and the boys on, it's a little bit heavy. Okay. Do. Right, okay, so all those checks have gone through, everything is fine. I'm now going to prime pumps off, get out, transfer pumps on, avionic master's already on, it should have been off, not quite sure how that happened. And where is it? I'm to look at a slightly different, there we go. Slightly different view. Okay, let's have all of these chaps on. And everything's looking good. Startup test is okay, so we've got green there. Let's go into flight mode on the engines. Okay, what I'm going to do now is connect us to the scenario editor. So if I just bring that up here, let me bear with me while I just move things around on my other screen a little bit. Okay, so let's go for missions. Library, we're going to connect to scenario editor on my PC, and at the moment it's saying no mission loaded. Well, that must be from an old one. Go away. That's interesting. Don't know why it's coming up with that. Okay. Yeah, I think probably because I was fiddling with it yesterday. But if I now select save changes on here, there we go. That's kind of reset it. So you save changes on the scenario editor. If you're doing it the way I've done it here, and then it loads it in, and you can see now it's telling us to fly to the accident scene. Right, let's have pitot heat on. If you're wondering why sometimes when I look up I'm getting a bit of interference, that's just because we have a headless pilot model here, which is a cool new feature, but it means that as you're looking around you can kind of see your body down there, which I think definitely adds to immersion. For me with Track IR, because of I guess the zoom that's set up, if I'm looking up here and then I look down, sometimes it sinks down into this, but I know that is something that they are looking at, and there's ways of working around it. And I could just set up a view to look at the panel, but I'm weird. I like the immersion of actually being in here and looking around, if that makes sense. I just thought I should explain that. Right, quick look at everything. Strobe on, please. I think we're all set to go. We all set to go in the back? Yep, let's get going. We've got to save this guy's life instead of me havering on. Let's clear these trees. Okay, let's get going. Yeah, it's pretty murky. Oh, let's get the... I didn't realise they had AI on, not AI, multiplayer, so let's get rid of that. So we don't have any immersion killing floaty labels. I do love how weather can add to the atmosphere in this sim. Oh, there comes the rain. Just watch this mountainside, and what we can do, watch the mountainside, is we can put the wiper on. Just really staying power wise about as far as I want to go, really, without overcooking it. Turn the wipers off now. There we go. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So incredibly immersive when you're flying over a landscape like this. How are we doing, lads? We alright? Everyone happy? Yep. They're looking a little bit happier since the last flight. I think secretly behind my back they talk about me. I can't help but think that they're rating my flying performance. See, the handy thing about having this map on the right hand side is that you can kind of see where we are if you know the area and are at all interested in where we are. Interesting that it's saying cargo hook off. I hadn't noticed that before. Oh, here's the rain again. just as we're heading towards the mountain. Wiper on please, fella. I'll have a look at that. Where is it? Yeah, okay. Now this is an interesting situation here, heading towards hard, rocky, mountainy stuff, and we've lost visibility to a greater extent, so let's just be very careful. It would be rather embarrassing going to rescue someone and then having to explain that we actually banged into the side of a hill. So let's not be silly. This is of course the danger of flying in rubbish weather, and in reality I'm not quite sure they'd be as stupid as I am now flying through this kind of thing. But then this is a very modern, capable helicopter, so, and they're very brave chaps, so perhaps they do. Just keep an eye on that. Just the rotor slap sound there every time we start to descend a little bit. Just trying to, without going too low, trying to keep within sight of the ground here, just so that we can make sure we know where we are. Just about to lose it again. This could be interesting, finding the casualty. A little bit of bumpiness over there. Slightly clearer over there. And it looks like we've got a little bit of clear ahead. Maybe not much, maybe just a brief respite. Just about roughly coming up to the halfway point between where we started off and the casualty, so don't worry fellas. Probably a good time to say we have a Discord now, link down below. It's just a place for people to chat about aviation, post screenshots, talk about sims, talk about whatever you want, within reason of course, and every now and again some group flights. Amazing, look at that. I do love the lighting in this sim. So yeah, come along. As I say, I'll put a link down below. And also, as cheesy as it is, and as much as I try and avoid saying it, if you are enjoying this video, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more of this sort of thing. I am doing some helicopter work on the channel now, as well as warbirds and GA and looking at scenery and that kind of stuff. But it always helps to grow the channel, and it would be great to see you on there. That's the cringe bit over, don't worry. I won't say that again. This scenery just stunning. I'm probably, well, I am repeating myself every time I make a video, but I am genuinely blown away at how immersive the scenery is in the simulator. Funny enough, I was looking at an area just earlier where I had taken a photograph last year, and I was looking at it in the sim, and it's basically a church and a couple of buildings that are across a loch on a small promontory, and it was just incredibly realistic. crazy actually, considering this is just a simulator on a home computer where to a large extent it's using autogen to try and simulate what's on the ground. And yeah, it just blows me away. I love it. And one of the great ways of seeing the scenery is for me is in this helicopter, and doing it in VR as well is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. I'm not using VR for this video because I tend to find that you, as the viewer, probably get a slightly smoother ride watching it, even though some people find track IR a bit irksome. But yeah, VR in this helicopter over this kind of landscape is just amazing. So where are we now? Ballindalach. Just coming over. So we are going to the Macallan distillery in Craigellachie. There's two distilleries in Craigellachie. There's the Macallan, and there's also Craigellachie. There's also a famous hotel there, the Craigellachie Hotel, which if you ever posted to RF Lossiemouth, you've probably certainly visited. They have an incredible whiskey bar in the whiskey library, I guess what you should call it, or whiskey collection. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I have to say at this point, and I hope it doesn't lose me any subscribers, but I actually don't like whiskey. I don't know why. I wish I did, and I mean that genuinely. I wish I did, but it's never really liked the taste. But I know that certainly my father certainly appreciated the Macallan, and quite often got a bottle at Christmas. So we're going there. Apparently one of the chaps has, I think he's been sampling it, to be honest, I'm not sure. But something's happened, he's had a bit of a fall, they've taken him outside. There is an ambulance crew present who've kind of stabilised him. And we're just going to go in and wake him up and take him to hospital. That's the plan anyway. Right, so we're coming up on the casualty now. That's the distillery over there. What I'm going to do is take out the trim there, the autopilot trim, just because it makes it a bit easier to fly for this sort of thing. I haven't really set up this approach particularly well, if I'm honest. That's our... I think I can just see the ambulance there. Bring around here because I think that's probably the best approach. Wind making life a little bit difficult. Then it'd be boring if it was easy, right? Now I don't really want to be pointing this way, so let's just try and stabilize things a little bit. Let's flick around. focus. There's our casualty. Police are here, must be serious. Get over here a bit. Get away from the trees. Never a good idea to land a helicopter on top of trees. Okay. Sliding down the hill a little bit there. Boof in the trees, that's a technical term. So let's come away from there and let's try that again. I was kind of hoping it would settle on the hill, but it was kind of sliding down the hill, so I'm going to try that again. It's one of the pleasures of setting up scenarios. I didn't flight test this when I set it up, I just wanted to see what it would be like. So it may be that this will all be for nothing because it won't actually settle properly. So let's come back round. Meanwhile, the casualty on the ground is saying, Christ, just drive me in the ambulance. Let's try this again, shall we? Stop going there. Oh, that's the wind. There we go, that feels a bit better. Shut down.
What a touchdown. My whole body was shaking.
Alright, mate, alright. That's the FS Realistic guy commenting on our landing. Thank you very much. Right, okay chaps, now over to you. The engine's into idle. And they should jump out and do some casualty picking up. Of course, one thing to point out, which is a little bit obvious, is that the vehicles here aren't really geographically accurate, but who cares? The immersion is just cracking. I love the fact that you can set whether the lights flash or not, and you can add all these different figures, like the chap who's waving there. Added him. He's probably the foreman, feeling a bit guilty. Fell off the ladder, fell into the vat, whatever it was. He's thinking, oh, I should have been watching him. So he's just going to keep waving, doing his bit, saving the day. Well done, lad. Worrying about the lawsuit that might be coming their way. So we just wait now while our crew member will load the casualty who's lying there in the heather onto the trolley. Stretcher trolley, don't know what the technical term is. Look at that. The cop is facing the other way. He was so worried by that initial landing where we started tobogganing down the hill that he can't even look. One of the things to say here is that the timings, we're waiting while our crew member works on the casualty there. It's kind of designed to be realistic, so he doesn't bob over there and suddenly the casualty magically appears on the stretcher. We're having to sit here and wait while presumably stabilising. There he goes, bringing him back. going to open the back door now and load him in. Let's switch to the inside view. And if we look behind, we can see him coming in. That's it, fella. Get him in. Oh, he smells of whiskey. Okay, now he's going to get in through this door here. Well done, chap. We all in? So now we're getting the signal here to fly to the hospital, so we're going to put the engines back into flight mode. Guys in the back keeping an eye on the casualty. Foreman over there still waving. We've picked him up now, fella. Your guilt trip is over. Don't worry. And the policeman is still facing the other way. He's thinking, oh, now I've got to watch him take off. No way. Okay, right. Let me concentrate. Just tipping it. There we go. Tipping it off the hill there. We can now put the autopilot trim back on. Get some height. Oh, one thing I'm going to show you. Sorry, casualty, don't worry. Over here is the Craigellachie Bridge, which was added by the... I can't remember now. This might be part of the Orbex landmarks. Built by Thomas Telford, famous for the Menai Bridge. Back in the early 1800s, and it is a bit of a landmark up here. There you go, a tour of bridges. Right, let's get going. Honestly, casualty in the back and we're talking about bridges. That could only happen on the Dreams of Wings channel. Hello, that was my body coming back in again. How are we doing in the back, chaps? Yeah, he's alright. Right, pedal to the metal, let's go. Little bit of sunshine getting it through to the ground up ahead. You're having an easy day today, aren't you, mate? You've not even touched the controls, eh? Of course, in a helicopter it's slightly different. The chap in command, as it were, sits in the right-hand seat, so he works for me. He's got a good line in banter when he's in the mood, and he doesn't do any flying at all, so he has got the easiest job. He just has to look worried, don't you? Yeah, a bit of a smirk there, which is fine. After the first attempt at that landing, I think you're allowed to smirk. But a little bit more concern for the patient would be helpful. Little detail, but I love how the tablet reflects off the inside of the windscreen there. This does have a full autopilot suite in it, by the way. It's not something I have really looked into a great deal at the moment. I like to hand fly it for the time being. Having the kind of autopilot cyclic trim in does mean that I can actually fly it hands off now, so I can let go of the stick and the aircraft will keep the attitude and everything the way it is now. Which is quite useful for doing this without putting it into a full autopilot mode, which it does have. But that's one of the many things I need to study, and one of the things I love about this is that there is just so much to learn. Here we go again, going into the clag. Now at this stage I'm going to do something that you of course wouldn't do, and I'm going to have a sip of tea, old boy. There we go, thank you. Refreshed. You're refreshed, aren't you, mate? I think you had about 10 barrels of Macallan go into your lungs by the looks of it. Other single malts are available. It's one of the things I find about flying in this sim actually is because the scenery is so good, I never get bored of flying around it, because it is so detailed, because you're not seeing repeating textures, repeating patterns. You can fly as I do in this kind of general area, and always have that sense of kind of being a little bit in awe of the landscape, which is quite good. Watch the wind farm here, don't want to get too close to that. Wind farms plus heli-whoppers can make for a nasty mess. So we'll just climb a little bit above that. Let's not get cocky. Come on, keep away from that blade. It would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Oh yes, boss, we rescued a casualty and then flew into a wind farm because we were getting a little bit carried away with the scenery, wasn't it? Not good. Not good at all. So we've got an 11 knot headwind at the moment, which is slowing us a little bit. I'm going to see if I can give it a little bit more beans. Weather closing in a little bit more. Hopefully when we get to Raigmore it will be we should have reasonable visibility to land, otherwise it really is going to get interesting. I tend to find that I leave it on the systems page there, but we do have this rather nice moving map nav display, but because we've got that on the tablet I've not been using it, but it is quite useful, and certainly if we were using nav aids or anything like that it would be essential. Something else we've got here which I haven't used a great deal, but I will show you. There we go. We've got a little tail boom camera, which is actually quite handy for you know, when we're doing any kind of tricky landing. I could have actually used it back then, which would have been probably quite beneficial, but that's a handy little thing to have. And you've got two versions. You've got high, which is where we are now, which is going to, let's do that again, high where we are now, which is where the map is actually going to as it would do, or rather the camera view is going to change with attitude. And then you've got low, where it's just a very simple, I guess it saves on some frame rates. It's not realistic. The map will keep scrolling, not particularly showing the attitude of the helicopter, as it were, but saves on a few frame rates. Actually, I'm not so sure. I think I've got that the wrong way around. As you can tell, I've not used it. I think this, yeah, this is probably the low one, because we're just kind of weaking around, and oh, I don't know. Playing around with this camera, and the poor guy in the back is having a fit. Definitely something I need to have another look at, certainly before I start talking about it on a video. Now, all that messing about, don't worry lads, I know what I'm doing. So what I love about this helicopter, there is so much to learn, and they do so many regular updates and add new features to it. It's a great package, and I definitely need to do at some point, need to set aside some time to get to grips with the systems and learn those inside out, rather than just flying around without really being 100% sure of how everything's working, which is something you never want to hear a pilot say. Oh, what does this thing do? Oh. That's not a good sign. Weather's cleared slightly here. We've got a bit better visibility. Which is nice. So we're not too far now. We're about 2/3 of the way to Raigmore. Flying a little bit lower than we would do in real life. But one of the advantages of an air ambulance is that not only do you get to the hospital quicker, but you can also have a bit of a fun ride in the process, although realistically I think the last thing you're going to be worrying about is how fun your ride is. Our winds 9 knot headwind, 8 knot now. So slightly lower than it was before. I've got the pylons freeware add-on. I'm trying to remember, is it wind farm and pylons? Which again for helicopter flying is great, because it does give you that need to keep an extra eye out so that you don't bump into these things. Oh, and that's the PMS GTN 750 I've got in there, the free version. Really not used that much yet. Again, not been doing any IFR, radio nav or anything like that, or GPS nav. Really just been doing this kind of stuff where I'm using the tablet more than anything. So that, again, that's something else I need to start integrating a bit more into my flying. I've used the 750 in P3D, the Flight 1 GTN 750 and 650. So I've got a reasonable understanding of how it all works, but just not really integrated it into my flying in this helicopter. There's a little bit of a rainbow starting over there. No, I'm not going to break into song. It's Culloden Viaduct down there. And we will, because it's actually kind of on our route. Have a quick scoosh over the Culloden battlefield. Culloden, of course, was the big battle from the Jacobite Rebellion, Bonnie Prince Charlie and all that. There's the visitor centre, and that's the actual battlefield down there. If you know about Culloden, you might recognise some of that. Right, back on focus. I am taking that rainbow as a good sign for our casualty chaps. I think that means that whatever deity he believes in is shining on his soul this day. Either that or it's just raining and the sun's coming through it. Hey. Right. Now again, I'm probably going to go a little bit quiet here because I need to use all my limited brain capacity to fly the aircraft. We are coming up on Raigmore. I just need to make sure I identify it. Now, quite handily, because I did fly here yesterday, the helipad is baked into the scenery, so it's not that difficult to spot it, he said. Certainly wasn't difficult to spot it yesterday. Coming at it from a slightly different angle today. Let's lose some speed, sunshine. I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses I have flying this helicopter. Quite often when I'm coming into a position like this, I come in too fast or too high, or a combination of both, and then it makes it very difficult to do anything approaching some kind of professional landing. So there is the helipad just there, and ideally what I'd want to do is approach it slightly from the right over there, rather than doing what I'm doing here, which is coming in over the building. So let's just see if we can slow her up a bit. I'm going to slip it over. There's so much to focus on flying a helicopter. It always amazes me. I mean, I guess they know why, and they've got their reasons, but for example, in the Air Force, they consider that you can't fly a fast jet, but you can fly a helicopter, and that always surprises me a little bit, because I'm just going to turn that off so I'm not fighting the aeroplane so much. Who am I to say? I've never flown a helicopter in real life. I have flown fixed wing, but to me there just seems to be so much to have to focus on. I really do need to shut up and concentrate, so bear with me. Now there is quite a handy hover indicator, which, had I been sensible, I could have put on, because that just gives you a slightly better idea of what you're doing.
100 feet.
Now, I am pointing the wrong way, which is a bit silly, so let's quickly weak it round. Now the problem I've got is that I actually can't see the helipad. Now my crew would probably be helping me at this point. So let's just... or we could do the sensible thing. We could turn the old camera on. In doing that, I have lost my bearings a little bit. Let's just back her up. Meanwhile, Casualty is like, oh my lord. If it wasn't bad enough when he picked me up, now I've got to go through this when he's dropping me off. There's the helipad just appearing on the camera now. Gently does it. Certainly the new flight model has helped, which I find it a little bit easier. I know that's probably hard to believe seeing me doing this, but I find it a little bit easier. Come on, just come over. Wind blowing us ever so slightly. Lapse of concentration there, because I was looking at the wind on the little nav map. There we go, we're down. Yeah, that's the other thing.
That, my friend, is how you land an aircraft.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, it just goes to show slight lapse of concentration there, because I was looking at something and it all goes a bit pear-shaped. So now, there he goes. We're unloading the Casualty. So in terms of on the bullseye, not particularly great. Could have been a bit more centred than that. So I have to say I did do a slightly better job when I landed here yesterday. But we hit the helipad and the Casualty is off, and we've saved the day. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for coming along for the ride. This is a cracking bit of fun, and we'll be doing more of it on the channel soon. So take care, goodbye, and see you around.